Hi. Alright. Okay, y'all, everybody's been begging for it. Everybody's been asking for it. You know, blowing up my DMs and everything. So I decided today I would give the people what they're asking for. Nobody asked for this. But my coming out story. Well, my first one. Because I mean, is it really... There's just so many layers to coming out in my life, you know what I'm saying? So this is just the first coming out story, and this is basically the story of like when I still presented as like a girl and realized I was like queer in some way, shape, or form. At the time, I didn't have the like knowledge that I do now, so I labeled it as bi, which isn't technically, you know, incorrect. I feel like these days I more so identify as pan, but I mean, realistically bi kind of does the trick, kind of. I don't know. I still feel like more closer to pan if I had to choose something, but yeah, either way. So this is basically me realizing I was bi at the time, just because I think there was still like a compet aspect of my identity to where I felt like, oh, I, you know, still have to like boys, but like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. We'll get to that in the future. I'm gonna try to keep this like very like short, sweet, to the point, because one thing about me, I can yap. Oh, I could yap. I could sit here and talk to y'all for like 5 hours straight about nothing. So I really want to try to keep this like, you know, as contained as possible. So just buckle in, get you some snacks, and let's go back in time here, shall we? Everybody buckle up. Put on your seatbelt. We are going back to about 2014, about 2013, 2014. Yes, I know. Aging myself here, but that's the truth. I was in high school at the time. Realistically, as a kid, I feel like I always was kind of like pretty queer. Like I would, you know, be in elementary school and like thinking about like, I don't know, like kissing the girls in my class, or like wanting to like be with them over wanting to be with the boys.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
But I did still have like some crushes on like boys in school, or like in middle school. I had like, I don't even want to call them boyfriends, because like we didn't even... Whatever. It's I'm just gonna keep it moving. In high school is when I really finally like came to terms with it. Like I had a moment, you know? So this was probably the fall of my junior year of high school that I think everything kind of like acclimated, right? So this was fall of 2013, and I had a best friend at the time that, for those of you who know, you know how like best friendships get very homoerotic at times, right? But we had this joke that we were married because we, in like our math class or something like that, like my friend used to like wear rings and stuff, and then there's like a point where like I was like, oh, like can I try one on, like try them on or whatever, and then she put it on my finger, but then she put it on my like marriage ring finger. So then we were all like, oh my god, we're married, ha ha ha. And then we just like took that joke and like ran with it, right? Which, like, you know, obviously for some reason it was just like a normal thing for like at least like girls in our classes, like even from when I was in middle school, to like fake date each other or like fake get married and stuff like that. I'm like, oh y'all bitches is gay.
Homosexuals. Damn homosexuals.
But I digress. So yeah, so then from there we were like joking that we were married, so we'd always be like, oh hey wife, blah 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 blah, whatever, do that whole hoopla thing. But but for some reason it kept like amping up, and I'll be completely honest, it wasn't me amping it up, so let that say all it needs to say. But from there it was like, you know, we started going on like fake dates, so we would like, you know, take turns paying, which I'm like, how did we have money for that? I mean, at least me, how did I have money for that? I don't know. But we would do stuff like that, like we'd go on like a date or whatever, like once a week, and just like hang out, just the two of us, and like eat and stuff. We would like text all the time, like 24/7, like always together, in school, blah blah blah. And I don't, I'll be completely honest, I don't remember how this went into that territory, but there became a point where we started like, I wouldn't say it wasn't. Okay, I'm gonna be transparent with y'all today because I sat down and decided to tell my story. But it's not like we were sexting, right? But it was like we were basically pretending to have sex over the phone.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no.
So I know people will be like, that's sexting, but it wasn't like, oh, so what are you doing right now? It wasn't like that. It was just like alluding that like we were doing stuff. Like I said, didn't initiate, but participated. So fast forward, this keeps happening for like a couple of months throughout the fall semester. It gets to this point in like, I want to say like October or November, where there was this like boy in our class that like we were all friends with. He was really cool, really sweet guy. But he was like about to move, like his parents were just gonna abruptly move him to like across the country or something like that. So we were all like, oh my God, no. And then this like drama came out with like one of my other like really good friends and this best friend. And it was basically saying that like they were both trying to get with him, essentially. And in my head, I was shocked. Cause like when this other friend, so let's say friend B and then friend A is like the best friend that like I had this weird fake relationship with. So friend, who was who again? Okay, we're gonna scrap that. We're gonna come up with fake names because I can't keep up with that, obviously. Okay, so the friend that was like my best friend, let's say, is Janae, and this other friend is Lisa, that like comes up in this situation with this boy, Wandissimo. So
Cock-a-doodle! Do you think I'm sexy?
So Lisa comes up to me and is like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Like, me and Wandissimo have been talking, and, you know, all of a sudden Janae is like, you know, so people are telling me like Janae was sending him texts and like trying to get with him and like all of this stuff. And yeah, I was like trying to get with him first and blah, blah, blah. So in my head, I'm like, Janae, why are you trying to get with boys? I thought we were a thing. And it was like, it like really gutted me at the time. Like I was like going through it, and I'm like, okay, well that's weird, but sure. And I take Lisa's side on this because I'm like, well, one, I was like petty as fuck because I was like, Janae, what the hell are you doing? But also like Lisa and I had like been friends longer, and like come to find out in the future, Lisa was like a habitual liar, but at the time I didn't know that. So I took Lisa's side, which Janae didn't actually do anything wrong in this situation, and then either way, Wandissimo was leaving. So, whatever. So then I stopped talking to Janae because I was like butthurt, and I was like, why would you cheat on me like this? Basically, is how I felt. So then, obviously then Janae being like, you were my best friend, like how could you take someone else's side over me, then also is upset with me. And then, I don't remember how it came to be, but there was like a point where we like, basically like I apologized, and we had this thing where we would like send each other like songs that like the lyrics would be like, oh, this is how I feel about oh, I'm like running through this story because like I'm cringing so hard. I need y'all to know that. But yeah, so I sent a song just basically being like, oh, like I'm sorry I didn't like believe you, this and that, yada yada yada. And then like she forgives me, and like we try to go back to the whole same thing that we were doing before, but it just like wasn't really the same, but we were still trying to like pretend. And I'm like simultaneously at this point, I think now we're starting to get into December, and I hope I'm not getting my timelines mixed up, but we're getting into December, and we go on winter break, and I binge watch the first 3 seasons of Glee in that winter break. I am like staying up till like 7 a.m. binging this shit, right? I started with season 2 though, and for those of you who know Glee, season 2 is like, you know, a lot of it has to do with like Santana's sexuality and her struggling with that, and like those elements start coming up in that season, right? And I am like triggered as fuck, basically. I'm like watching it, I'm like, oh shit, because it's like, obviously if you've seen Glee, you know that like Santana and Brittany end up being together, they love each other, whatever, but it's like this whole trope of like falling in love with your best friend, and I just felt like this is like sitting way too close to home right now, but it was just like stressing me out. And then it got to the point where I was like, well fuck. And then I get to season 3, obviously it's like Santana comes out, like she tells her grandma, and it's like terrible, but like, you know, she just loves Brittany and like all of this stuff, and I was just like I'm literally like sobbing in my bedroom. It's like 5 a.m. winter break, and I'm like, oh shit. But mind you, while all of this is happening, I'm not really hearing much from Janae. Like, let's all keep this in mind. I then find out that and not from Janae, but from I feel like this is okay, whatever, it's the truth. So I find out from my cousin, who was in the same grade as me, that him and Janae went on a date during winter break. And he's like super over the moon. Like, obviously he has no clue nothing happened between me and her, but you know, he had no clue about like my feelings or that I was like queer in any way. So he's telling me, and he's like super geeked, he's super happy, and I'm like, yeah.
Congratulations! Oh my god.
And I'm like heartbroken, because I'm like, and like she didn't even tell me either, so it's like, okay. But then I thought that was weird, but you know, whatever. We continue on being friends, and like, but things just start getting weird and weirder and weirder and weirder from there. So like, fast forward a couple more months down the line, and there's this like day, and I distinctly remember it because I remember like how I felt in that moment. But we used to talk on the phone all the time, and we hadn't in a little while. But I went to go pick my brother up from the bus stop, and she like called me as I was like walking there. And like when I picked up the phone, her voice sounded really weird, and I was like, what the hell? So she's like, hey, so like I just had to tell you something. And I'm like, okay, what? And oh, mind you, there was like jokes that like her other, like she had some guy friends or whatever that like took, like there was like always a joke that they liked her, but you could kind of tell that they did. But she was always like, oh, but I'm not interested, or whatever. And then she'd always like specifically be like, oh, like it's you, like I only want you, I don't want that, blah 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 type thing, right? So she calls me, and she's like, let's say his name is Bradley. Bradley like asked me to be his girlfriend, and I'm like, ha! Like I literally like laugh on the phone. I'm like, oh my god, what a fucking loser, am I right? And then she's silent, and I'm like, why aren't you laughing with me? I thought we would laugh together about this. And I was like, well, what did you say? And she was like, I said yes.
So what are you gonna say at my funeral now that you've killed me?
And then we both just go silent. Like everybody on the phone just look around, everybody on mute. And I'm just like, oh. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Sure. Okay. Sure. Like at that point, like what do I even say, you know? And I'm like, I was just like, I was devastated. Obviously I was devastated in that moment, but I was just like, this is the like depth of those feelings though, I was like, okay, I need to be like so for real with myself. And like I just remember like I was just kind of in a daze after that. Like I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'll talk to you later, blah blah blah. Like we got off the phone and I picked up my brother from his bus stop and like we're walking home and he's just asking me like, why are you so quiet, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I'm like shell shocked because I'm like, obviously we weren't actually together, but it just felt so real and it didn't feel like I was the only one. Like it didn't feel like one-sided, you know? So I felt like to do all this out of nowhere is crazy. But now as an adult, I feel like I could look at it in a different lens. And I'm like, you know, I'm not trying to guess anybody's sexuality, but maybe that's something that she was like struggling with at the time as well. And like it made her feel better to like, you know, go be with like someone who presented as a guy at the time, right? So anyways, fast forward, like our friendship is kind of like hanging on by a thread at this point, but we're like still friends and we still talk. But like the guy, honestly, he fucking sucked. He was like such a dickhead. I hated him. He actually tried to fight me once. Like, let's pardon? Because, you know, I still presented as a girl at the time. So it's like, you would fight. But hey, you know, you was threatened. It's all right, buddy. It's all right. It's okay. Obviously, none of this shit matters now. But, you know, like just looking back at some of these things as an adult, I'm like, why were you ready? And I was ready to tear him up too. Because like, he was just genuinely not a nice guy. It was so much more than just like the jealousy that I was feeling at the time. Like genuinely, he was like such a dickhead. He sucked. He like treated people like shit, was rude, like just overall dickhead. So, yeah, they keep doing that. We kind of stopped talking. But then in my head, I'm like, I'm so torn up about this. Like, this can't be like, you know, I just have to be like realistic about it. And I also felt like I was watching more and more Glee at the time, and I just felt like I just really resonated with like Santana's character because I was like honestly kind of mean back then, but I feel like it was just because I wasn't like able to be my true self. And like obviously as a teenager, you're basically a kid in a bigger body, so you just don't really, you don't know how to process your emotions unless you're taught to do so from a young age. And I just was angry internally, and it just made me not like that nice of a person growing up. So I just had like a day where I like looked in the mirror, and I think at this point it's like basically summer break, like the school year just like wrapped up, and I can no longer like run from it. So I like make myself like look in the mirror and like say like out loud, which it was like such a like hoarse like whisper at the time because I was such a like I was really struggling with it. But I was just like, I'm bisexual, like in the mirror. Like it's laughable now, but I was torn up. Like I grew up in a religious like household. My family's from the Caribbean. Like it's just not okay, you know, in our culture. Which like, you know, y'all know how I feel about that now. But at the time, it just felt like I'd rather like jump off a cliff, like pretend I'm like dead than like come out to my family at this point. So this is the summer. I'm not at school, so I've been texting my friends and it's just like weighing on my heart, and I just felt like I needed to tell somebody. So I like started like coming out slowly to like different parts of my friend group, because it was probably about like 6 or 7 of us, maybe 8 in total in the friend group. So like I kind of broke it off into like groups of like 2 or 3 at a time and like kind of told them throughout the summer, and everyone reacted pretty well except for like one friend. But like, you know, I feel like she probably had her, like she was also religious, and like that was kind of like the whole basis. Like she was just like, but you grew up religious, how could you be? And I was like, okay girl, listen, I don't fucking know. So then that was the summer of my junior year. So now we're going into fall semester, my senior year. I get heavily into Glee fanfiction because it's like, you know, at the time, obviously not we all know, because not all of y'all were watching Glee, but you know, they started doing Santana and Brittany dirty. I was struggling with it because, you know, that representation meant a lot at the time, and it was like honestly the only thing I saw on TV that was like, you know, remotely something I could put myself in. So I started reading like fan fictions of their relationships, and like that kind of like sent me down, you know, because it's just like if you've ever read those, or if you know what fan fiction is like, it's just like a lot of them are so like dramatic but like sad or heartbreaking and all this, and I'm like, I'm staying up till like 4 a.m. every night reading these like stories and like just really living out these like queer fantasies in my brain, and it's like changing my brain chemistry. Like in my head at this point, I'm like solid and like, okay, yeah, I'm queer. Don't know how this is gonna go, but I'll just probably never come out unless I meet like, you know, like a girl in college or something, and like we end up getting married. But so keep in mind, I came out to my close friends in the summer, right? Going into my birthday is like around January, and for my 18th birthday, two of my friends got together and they made me this jar that was like, it was honestly a really sweet concept, but it was like 18 wishes for me, 18 of their favorite memories with me, and then 18 wishes for me, and then 18 reasons why they love me from each of them. And for some reason, like when I got this gift, like my mom never is like nosy about like my gifts or like, you know, what I get from my friends or whatever, because they've gotten me scrapbook before, and like it's not like she was like, let me see every picture. But for some reason, she wanted to like read every single like note in this jar. I don't know, maybe she was just so blown away by how nice it was. Maybe it was like, you know, the universe and the intuition, because like realistically, you know, I'll explain how things pan out. But she starts reading all of the notes, and she's like, oh, this is so sweet, blah, blah, blah. And then one of my friends, one of her wishes for me, because like I said, the whole Glee obsession, like I then also became obsessed with Naya Rivera, like rest in peace, queen. But yeah, just because like, you know, one, hello, but two, just everything that like Santana was for me, it just like I had an affinity towards like Naya Rivera in general as a person because of that. So my friend wrote like one of her wishes was for me to like marry Naya Rivera, and my mom was like, what? And I was like, no girl, it's a joke. Like everybody always says that like, oh, I'm gonna marry that girl as a joke. It's literally a joke. Why aren't you laughing? It's a joke. But then I was able to breeze past through that one, but there's another one that said like one of the reasons that they loved me was because I trusted like our friend group with my secret and was like brave enough for that. My mom was like, well, what's your secret? Because immediately she obviously gets triggered that it's like, well, why do your friends know a secret about you and I don't know? Which like obviously as a parent now I'm like, girl, like could I share that secret with you? Probably not. And then the way you acted after, this is exactly why. But yeah, so she then basically, I was like, I'm not a great liar. I'm just not a good liar. Like, if you know me in real life, like, it's not easy. Eventually, she gets it out of me that, you know, my secret was that I was bi. And she was just like, and that didn't go too well. But, you know, I'll get into the trauma another time, another day, another story. But yeah, so that's kind of how I came out to my mom. My intermediate family ended up finding out shortly after that, because of like another situation that happened that I'll probably talk about in like a corresponding video like after this. But yeah, so that's basically how I came to terms with it, and how I came out per se. After that, when I like went to college, like, you know, I told my like close friends in college, and you know, like everybody, like I was like pretty much like out in like the groups. Like I would enter a new group, but then I would like come out, and then people knew I was queer, and like I didn't have like, it made me really anxious still. Like it was like something I didn't like to like publicize. Like it's not like I would wear like, you know, rainbow this, rainbow that, like whatever. Like that made me pretty anxious, and like, you know, even moving into like my first like queer relationships, like I had like a lot of anxiety around like being queer that like I had to work through. But you know, coming out after that was a little bit easier. It was just really that first, you know, lump. But realistically, like looking back at the time, like I was in a small, you know, predominantly white town in Florida. Like, you know, I already kind of had a target on my back being Black. Like I didn't necessarily want to add to that, but it's not like, you know, like I'm not who I am without my identities. And you know, I commend my younger self because like it did take a lot of bravery to like tell my friends. Like I was genuinely so terrified that like they weren't gonna want to talk to me anymore. I was gonna be ostracized, and like thankfully they were all like really supportive. And you know, I really couldn't have made it out that time without their like support, because it just felt like, okay, at least like I have somebody, you know, like if I came out and it went like terribly wrong, like that would have been the type of thing that just pushed me back in the closet, or I probably just wouldn't have talked to anyone and then moved away to college and then like had an even tougher time coming out again, you know. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that, and like I'm grateful for myself for like sticking through that, because that just felt like some of the like hardest days. Like now I'm able to laugh about it and like, you know, talk about it in a lighter note, but like just, you know, realistically, like some of the tears I shed in that time period were just like some of the hardest like cries I've ever had in my life. Like if you know what I'm talking about, like, you know what I'm talking about, like a hard cry where you're just like sobbing. Like it was just so, it just felt so isolating, and I didn't know anyone else who was like queer. I didn't have any like people that like I, you know, knew at the time that were like also out that I could like talk to or have support in that sense with people who like felt similarly to me. All I had was like Tumblr, but even then it was really just like, you know, like it was those fan fictions that were holding me through it, that were tucking me in every night, rubbing my head, patting my back and saying it was okay. Like, you know, all the stuff that like they would go through in the fan fictions, there was obviously some that like felt very like close to home. There were some that were just like nice to read, like, you know, it would pretend to be like a couple years in the future, which is crazy because if I read it now, it's probably like these years that we're living right now, like, oh, the 2020s or something that they were talking about. But it's like they like grew up and they had kids and like, you know, all of their friends and blah 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 blah, and it just made me feel like hopeful for the future of like, okay, like I'm not really doomed, you know, like I could, you know, have like a good life still. And like, you know, I only really came out to my mom because I was forced to, but I'm genuinely really grateful that it happened that way, because I just know myself, and I know I would have probably struggled to tell her for a really long time, and it would have made it so much harder to like be myself. Like when I started coming back home from college on my breaks and dressing more and more masculine, like that was already like a what the heck, but like, you know, she already knew at the time, so it's not like, you know, it was really a surprise. It was just like a, well, why don't you just do your hair like this? Like, girl, nobody want that swoop, like. But it, you know, it kind of allowed me to be my true self like sooner, rather than waiting till I was like, I don't know, like 35, probably already engaged or married, and then being like, by the way, like that plan would not have gone well. That's my OG coming out story. If y'all like resonated with it, if y'all like want to drop like a comment, or if y'all, I don't know, I don't want to say like want clarification, but if I just didn't explain something in a way that you understood, let me know in the comments below, and like I'll probably make a follow-up video to this talking about like my first like queer experiences, just because I think this is like important education to talk about. And like, not like I'm a queer elder, because I'm not that old, like I'm still very young, but I feel like an older queer in the sense of like I've been out for like a decent amount of time, and you know, in retrospect to like some people who might have been like out like more recently, even if they're older than me or whatever the case may be. And I feel like talking about these experiences helps us to like navigate them as a community, but it also just like kind of educates like the younger queer folks, like not in age, but you know, in terms of how long they've been out or like coming to terms with their identity and stuff like that. And like I do feel like if you like hear these stories and you kind of like resonate with it, you're like, oh shit, like yeah, actually I do see myself in that. Or okay, I see why this isn't a good idea, or why I shouldn't do this if I'm gonna, you know, like go down this path with like a person who acts this way or whatever in like these queer situations. So yeah, I just want to bring more like awareness to that. And like I think there's strength in like sharing your story and talking about, you know, difficulties that you've like overcome. So to all my queer folks that are visible or not visible, happy Pride. It does get better. I know people always are like, it gets better, but like genuinely, like I say in almost every video, I am living with the love of my life in an apartment with our little kitty in like a city that we love. Like, yes, life on the outside is like, it gets difficult at times, but like inside here, like we have like our safe haven, and like nothing really like beats that. And it's really beautiful to get to experience that, and especially at like my age, and yeah, knowing where like, you know, 10 years ago where I was, and like seeing myself now, like that version of me that was like hard sobbing, crying over like a fan fiction, like in my bed by myself at like 2 a.m., like just created their own fan fiction worthy romance and is living that experience now. So keep being you, y'all, and I will see you guys in the next one.